Feeling overwhelmed? Struggling to keep up with your nonprofit's never-ending to-do list? You are not alone, my friend. Today, we're going to talk about how to get more done without running yourself or your team into the ground. It all comes down to prioritizing high-impact work, some smart delegation, and a bit of automation. And do not shoot daggers at me for saying delegation. I know how ridiculous that advice can sound for small teams, but I've got some creative thoughts about delegation that you are going to love. And hopefully you're going to think, wow, I never thought of delegation that way. So come on with me into today's episode so you can start figuring out how to get more done without burning the candle at both ends. It's possible, and I'm going to tell you how. Welcome to Profitable Nonprofits. I'm Bernadette Mack, and I help nonprofit leaders just like you build sustainable, thriving organizations without the burnout. If you're tired of constantly chasing donations, or you struggle with engagement, or you're wondering how to make a bigger impact, well, you're in the right place. Each week, we tackle real nonprofit challenges with practical, no-fluff strategies that you can apply right away. You're doing all the hard work, so now let's make it a little easier. All right, let's talk about why burnout happens so often in the nonprofit world, especially for small to mid-sized teams. And really, I feel like there are three big culprits. We have too many responsibilities and too little time. You're wearing too many hats. You're the executive director, the fundraiser, probably you're the communications department. You may even be HR. And let's face it, you're probably the only cleaning crew your office has ever seen. If that sounds familiar, it's because you're not alone. This is the state of things in many nonprofits. And we can get into the many reasons why things are the way they are, but that's a discussion for another day. So for now, let's just accept that there's a high probability that you're trying to do too much in too little time. Next up is a fear of delegation. And you've probably said, it's just easier if I do it myself. And sometimes in the short term, it totally is. Plus, nobody can do it the way that you do, right? Or how about this one? There's no one to delegate to. I have a tiny team and everyone is already doing the most. So delegation feels like a sick joke. And then the third one is we don't have enough prioritization of high impact work. Without clear priorities, we become reactionary instead of proactive, and we rush instead of doing things properly and thoroughly. And we also say yes when we ought to say no. If everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority. Knowing which high impact work to focus on and when comes back to your mission and vision, your strategic plan, and your KPIs. Here's a little quick personal story. I was an executive director for many years at an organization that was growing by leaps and bounds. And although our membership and revenue was growing by large percentages year over year, our infrastructure did not grow along with it. Sometimes I was a team of one, and at our very best and biggest, we were a team of three. So it's totally amazing what can be done with just three people, but still, whenever it came time for performance reviews, one criticism that I received more than any other was that I needed to delegate more. And I thought, that is such a joke. Are you kidding me? I've got everyone, all three of us, working at max capacity. We shouldn't even be able to accomplish as much as we were with the amount of staff that we had. And still, my board wanted me to delegate better. Who did they think I was going to offload writing our email blast to, for instance? I had established the brand's voice, and this was before AI, so how could I trust someone else to do it or easily pass it off? And there were a ton of things like that I felt like I just couldn't relinquish. We were running all kinds of programs and events, supporting more than 20 chapters, tackling every initiative the board wanted to come up with. And we had a huge, long list of what we were working on. And when we sat down to figure out how do we prioritize this, we were stumped. Everything was top priority. We couldn't not send emails. We couldn't not plan the next board meeting. We couldn't not do the nationwide membership drive. We couldn't not answer the phone and handle member requests. We couldn't not attend trade shows. We couldn't not, like, you get the idea. There was nothing that we could say was not a big priority. It wasn't until we had a new, really smart board president suggest that we work on developing KPIs for our group. And then we finally saw the light. We hadn't ever gone through this process because when you're a team of one or two or just even three, it seemed like overkill to sit down and try to do this KPI process. Administrative things like that can be a huge time suck, and they would just, prove to not be worth the effort in the end. But we kept it simple and we did it anyway, and we were able to organize our work. And this exercise required us to acknowledge that some things simply could not be done if we were expected to do other things well. This was like so freeing. This was not anything we were able to do in the past, to be like, if we want to do this well, we cannot do these other things. This process gave us permission to say, we cannot do this, no matter how much we want to, no matter how much it makes sense or it sounds like a great idea, no matter how much it pained me personally to say, we can't do something. We had permission to say, this is something that we can look at next year. Okay, great idea, but it will have to be next year. Or we can think about working on this initiative when we have 5 people on our team. That's what it's realistically going to take to do that project well. So when we have 5 employees or whatever the benchmark may be, then we could revisit this. It not only helped bring a little bit more order and sanity to what we were doing, but it also gave us the ability to say, as terrific as this bright idea you've come up with is, we have all agreed that these KPIs are our priority, and your idea doesn't further any of them. So we're very sorry, but no. And of course, you probably want to be a little bit more diplomatic than that, but that's the bottom line. So think of delegation as not just passing something off to another person. Think of it as passing it off to another place or another time. When we're in the right place, resource-wise, this can get more attention. When we set up our projects for 2026, maybe, we can revisit this. Delegation doesn't just have to be about putting more work on others. It's about committing to prioritizing your work no matter how painful it may be, in order to be truly excellent in a few key areas. You have to ruthlessly reject getting sidetracked or distracted by every new thing that comes up. Stick to your priorities as a form of delegation. So let's take a little break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about delegation and how to do it effectively if you do have people to delegate to. Hey, nonprofit leaders, does your mission statement actually inspire action? Or is it an old relic filled with nonprofit jargon and cliches? If you're looking to craft a mission, vision, and value statement that truly connects with donors, volunteers, and stakeholders, I've got the perfect resource for you. My Mission Workbook is a DIY guide designed to help you and your team clarify your purpose, align your messaging, and create statements that fuel real impact. Stop talking around what you do and start connecting your mission with donors and members. Everything, and I do mean everything, starts with a well-written mission statement. Grab your copy today at BernadetteMac.com under Resources. So now we're talking a little bit more about delegation if you're one of the lucky ones who actually has team members or volunteers to delegate to. I know that it can sometimes seem like it's more trouble than it's worth. By the time you explain the task, give instructions, follow up, review it, and then possibly end up redoing the work yourself, it's like, this is not worth it. It's just easier to do it myself. If this is you, and it certainly was me, I'm asking you to rethink this the next time it comes up. Can you resist the urge to plow through everything yourself? Because you can. And just think more strategically about letting other people own something. And take this beyond tasks. For instance, instead of saying, Susie, I need you to write an email blast every week, maybe you ask Susie to own the organization's email communications and give her a goal to grow engagement. Sure, it may take Susie some time to get up to speed, but you might be surprised at the ideas she comes up with to reach that goal. Maybe growing engagement doesn't come from just sending a weekly email. In this example, the goal of growing engagement was more important than getting someone to complete the task of writing an email every week. Delegate the outcomes and the goals, and then let other people own them. This is an opportunity for their professional growth. And like I said, you might be surprised to see how other people would accomplish the goals that you've given them. If you're dealing with volunteers, there could be more time investment required to train someone on how to do something that you may have done yourself. This investment is like the old saying, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. I want you to eat for a lifetime by making time to teach others strategically how to fish for your organization. So now let's look at how we can further prioritize some high impact work. This is a lot harder than it seems because it requires us to be proactive instead of reactive. And a lot of times in the nonprofit world, as well as the for-profit world, we just run around putting out fires all day instead of directing our work and planning ahead. And sadly, I don't have any magic fix to tell you how you can stop putting out fires in your organization. That's probably going to be a very specific process. Maybe issues that come up get collected for a certain amount of time and then addressed once a week. Or maybe it's a matter of hiring or assigning someone to just be a problem solver. And maybe it's a matter of creating comprehensive training manuals so that your employees or volunteers can figure out how to solve problems themselves or prevent those little fires from starting in the first place. But the answer to being reactive instead of proactive is not to run around faster and work harder to put out fires quicker and quicker so you can get back to doing your regular work, if you even remember what that is anymore. The answer is to flip the script altogether and find new ways of handling those daily issues. Another way that people like to look at prioritizing is to use the Eisenhower matrix. And you may have seen this. It's like a box with 4 quadrants, and it's supposed to help you sort things into urgent versus important. If you're not familiar with it, Google the Eisenhower matrix to learn more because it can be helpful to say, okay, these tasks are urgent and important. These are important but not urgent. These are urgent but not too important. And finally, the rest are neither urgent nor important. But how well this matrix works for you depends on how strategic your priorities are. Are the things you or others view as urgent actually urgent? Why? How does this help further your mission? And how well this works is going to also depend on the plans you make to accomplish all the things once they're sorted. You may know intellectually that something is important, but because it isn't particularly urgent, you keep letting it sit on the back burner and never make time for it. So it's helpful to critically look at what you and your team are trying to accomplish, but make sure you do it through a strategic and laser-focused lens. And finally, automate when possible. Adding automation to routine things can help you be so much more effective in areas like email sequences, donor cultivation, social media, donation processing, and so much more. Every day, there are more and more AI-driven tools to help you get tasks done automatically. Even simply setting up GPTs to help you plan and create content, projects, or reports that you need on a regular basis can allow you to dispatch with time-consuming tasks in favor of more high-level work, some thinking time, and strategic creation. All right, that does it for this week's episode. Thanks a million for tuning in because I know that you are doing a million things, and I hope you could grab an idea or two to carry with you into your work this week. What you're doing is so important. You're a shining example of what it means to serve others. And when all else fails, the ability of people to come together and lift each other up through charity, through membership, through services, whatever it may be, is what will continue to make this world a better place. So thank you. And go ahead and choose one thing that you're going to delegate or automate this week, and let me know how it changes your workload. Leave me a message at 914-297-7692. Thanks for tuning in to Profitable Nonprofits. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a new one. Also, consider providing a 5-star rating and help more nonprofit leaders find the show. For more resources and strategies to grow your nonprofit, visit BernadetteMac.com. And if you have a question or a topic you'd love me to cover, send me a message or leave me a voicemail at 914-297-7692. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep up the good work. And remember, running a nonprofit is tough, but you're tougher.